My name is Pam. I go by Pam Marketing Nut online. You can just do a search on Google and just search for Pam Marketing Nut and probably pick your flavor of how you would like to communicate with me. I spent 15 years in corporate America. So working for Hitachi Data Systems, working for GE, working for Storage Tech, working for Sun Microsystems for 7.5 years, survived 13 layoffs at that company. I did that by doing things like what I'm going to talk about today, by getting in the head of our customer, by utilizing new technology, by not falling to status quo, right? And believing and dreaming big and all the things that we talk about, right? We don't have to put ourselves in a box. And I left corporate about a little over 5 years ago, and I was basically running an agency inside a corporate. So everybody that I worked with and had paid their mortgage literally for 15 years, you know, I had my branding guy, my digital guy, my copywriters, and not one agency could ever even come close to satisfying me. They said, Pam, why don't you start your agency? Because you are driving us insane. And you're running an agency inside a corporate. So that's what I did, and then I took them with me. I quit paying their mortgage, and they started helping me pay mine. And so it was about community, right? From the first day we started, it was about relationships. We sold our first agency within 2 years, and that I never would have thought that would happen, but we did. And then we work with brands from small clients, you know, well-funded startups, entrepreneurs, all the way up to enterprise brands. And I'm only telling you this so you will trust what I'm telling you today, that this isn't our first rodeo, right, doing digital marketing. And I am terrible at analogies. So Danielle on my team sitting over there is about to cry right now. She's like, oh my gosh, don't talk about the horse to water because she always screws it up. So I will try to keep the analogies out of the conversation. So here is my co-founder, just so you know. I keep going to point back here. You'll hear me probably, he's the butt of many of my jokes. So just so you have a face to put when I mention him. And so the goal for today, we are talking about omnichannel marketing. Who here knows on a scale of 1 to 5, tell me how comfortable you are with omnichannel marketing, okay? 5 being high, hold up your hands. Could you come up here right now and define it? If you could, it would be a 5. If you're maybe, you know, nowhere close to that, you're a 1. So hold up your hand and tell me where you think you are. And don't be embarrassed. Everything that happens in here stays in here, right? Okay, so that's good to know. Right. And the only thing keeping you not only from lunch, but also coming up here on stage with me to dance is not answering my questions and engaging. So the front row is doing really good. But today what we want to do is focus on you leaving here understanding what is omnichannel marketing, you understanding what matters, okay? How are you going to focus? How can you utilize multiple channels, all of the things that are coming out in a way that is going to grow your business and help you connect with your customer. The consumer is absolutely changing. It's not us that's changing as a business, because the business is not changing fast enough. The consumer is changing almost on a minute-by-minute basis. 87% of customers think brands need to put more effort into providing a seamless experience. That is a high number. According to Google, 25% of shoppers start on a PC, but they move to mobile. 68% of consumers have used YouTube to shop for retail products and services. The power of the smartphone, we all know that. 71% of in-store shoppers who use smartphones for research say their device has become more important to their in-store experience. How many of you use your mobile phone when you are in store? Okay. How many of you are looking things up on Amazon to see the price? Right? And I'm one of those people, I was kind of a late bloomer on Amazon. My husband had been using it forever, and I was one of those people that still liked the excuse to go to the mall I'm like, I need to go get some Bare Minerals makeup and then spend another $300 with that. But then I realized that I could actually buy the Bare Minerals online, and I could buy my jeans, and I could buy the shirts, and I could buy the jackets, and then I could go have fun on Saturday and Sunday, okay? But if you think about why is that happening, it's happening because I'm getting time back, I'm saving money, and I'm getting to do with my life what I want to do with my life and my time, right? It's giving me so much convenience that it makes it worth me not going and running to the mall, even though I may be able to find some better things. So stores are having, the traditional brick and mortar stores, the Best Buys of the world, are struggling. And I've seen some conversations online and some, conversations. I saw an article on Best Buy. They were saying, the consumer is taking away our experience. Okay, what do you mean taking away your experience? Taking away the experience they get of us going into the showroom. I don't care. I'd probably buy more products from Best Buy if their website could better deliver me an inventory of what I need. 98% of mobile users have a device within their arm's reach 100% of the time. Okay, so you know what that means? I used to have a picture of a guy on a toilet, but I took it out. 98% of Americans switch between devices in the same day. 98% of us. How many of you are using 2 devices here right now? Guilty as charged, all of you. We want instant gratification, right? 50% of consumers expect to buy online and pick up in the store. How many of you have searched for a product and you need it now, right? I recently we redid our bedroom and I needed a comforter like now. Why? Because I bought an Amazon king-size bed for $400, okay, instead of $3,000, and I needed some bedding to go with it. My experience finding that bedding was not good. Nobody could get me my product now. The manufacturers are all selling through Amazon. They're all selling through Bed Bath & Beyond. Every single one of them was taking 7 days to get to me. Why? Right? Why can't those products get to me faster? I finally had to call Bed Bath & Beyond. He told me it would be there in 2 days, and it didn't get there for 7 days. Okay, so do you see where we're going with this? You have 10 seconds to keep them when they come to your website. So you have 10 seconds at max for somebody to decide if they're going to stay on your website. And this is where my little husband and co-founder comes in, okay? He's a fisherman. How many stories do you think I hear of big fish? A lot. How many pictures do you think there are? Some are good, I have to give them credit. But there's a lot more stories of, we almost caught this big fish, it was huge. But you didn't, right? And so if you think about our websites and you think about our blogs and you think about our mobile apps, it doesn't matter about all these awesome customers and awesome opportunities we have to make a sale if they leave our site within 10 seconds. So I don't care what kind of site you have. I don't care how small or large your business is. If it is not mobile responsive, if it is not responding to no matter what size of device is coming to your site, that needs to be one of your #1 priorities that you need to fix right now. And there's no excuse on, well, I don't have the technology, I don't have the money. Go learn it. I built our first website when we launched our first agency. I built it from scratch from WordPress. I now know more about WordPress than, not totally, but some things that come up in our development team. And they'll say, that's going to take me 2 days. And I say, let me show you how I can do that in 5 minutes. So the more you can learn, and if you're, how many of you are in a startup organization or a solopreneur? Just learn the things, or find somebody that can help you at a low price. There are so many WordPress templates out there for blogs that you can launch over a weekend, even with little skills, and find somebody to help you. Never, ever force our customer to scale up. Do you know what that means? So I'm on my mobile device, and I'm wanting to buy a $150 bedding set. Okay, that would be a good deal. and I'm on a website looking for it, and it's not working. It's like, isn't it scary at the bottom of a site when you see and it says, view full site, right? When you see that, most of the time it means that the site is probably not going to work on the device you're on. And then what happens when you click on view full site? Does it work on your device? And then what happens next? You leave, right? Because that experience was never designed for you. That's when we end up having to go to a PC. Okay, so if we want something, we need something really bad, we're going to go to the PC or our Mac, but it's not going to be a positive experience. It's probably not going to be what we want to do, right? So the details matter too. 73% of people are likely to visit a local store if a retailer provides in-store product availability online. How many of you have experienced good and bad on this? So if you know a store has a product, you'll go get it. So the day that I called Bed Bath & Beyond, that story, I was in the car, and I wanted to go pick it up that day. They were lucky they still got my sale online because he promised me it would be there in 2 days, okay? But your sales can be increased, particularly if you were in the product business, if you can have that inventory available. 36% will visit a store, so compare the 73% to only 36% are ever going to visit that store if no inventory information is available, right? That's a huge drop. The people inside the brand matter too. So how many times have you been frustrated? You're standing in maybe an electronics store and you know more than anybody that works in the department for the stores, right? And at least they could have access to the same tools that you do. And 69% of consumers expect store associates have mobile device to perform simple, immediate tasks such as looking at product information and inventory. Right, and I think Apple does an amazing job of this. Anyone who knows and loves Apple, you know, right? Sephora, any women go to Sephora, they do the same thing. When they get really busy, they will check you out with their mobile thing, whatever it is, their checkout system. So now let's switch gears a little bit, and we're going to do kind of some 101 on omnichannel, because I think there's a lot of people that don't really know what it is. So originally we had, and we're going to dive into each of these on the next slide, but we had traditional marketing, we then had e-commerce, and then we had multi-channel, and we now have omnichannel. So that's just kind of where time has been. What these things are, traditional, think about a customer visits the store, think direct mail, think, you know, traditional mom and pop business, big store business. E-commerce, who remembers when that word first came out? This will date some of us, I do. I remember I worked at GE Capital, and they made my title like e-commerce director, and it was really cool. And I remember the CIO, the CTO, he was like, I think we're gonna call you the e-commerce director. I was like, whatever that is, that sounds cool. And we didn't even have a store. Right? We were doing flood determinations online, determining if people's property was in a flood zone. True story. And I still have the card to prove it. But that's basically, you go to a website and you buy a product, you buy a service, and it was usually through a desktop. Then we've evolved to mobile. Multi-channel means a customer shops via multiple channels. Okay, so it's just you have multi-channels out there that are available for them to come to. You know, you kind of think of if you hang your stuff out for people to come by, it's like you hang it out on the mobile device, you hang it out on your retail store, in-store, you're hanging it out for your website. Omnichannel is the customer engages anywhere via an integrated and a seamless experience. Okay, and those are the key words. Integrated and seamless. If it's not integrated, and if the channels are not working together, it is not omni-channel. All right, omni-channel does not equal Periscope launched, Blab launched, Meerkat launched, all these app launched, and we have to go get on them next week. Wrong. And do not let anybody tell you that. Okay, omni-channel marketing does not mean you have to be everywhere at every time, 24 hours a day. You need to prioritize and be where your audience wants you to be and make sure that you're serving them what they need on those channels and you're able to connect and serve them. The other thing I think we do as marketers is this is what we do. So we have all these channels available to us. And so what do we say? Particularly in a B2B world, right? We're on Twitter. Hey, look at me. So we're these two people. Everybody's shouting at each other, and it's getting noisy. How many of you have been on Twitter for 5 or more years? Or at least, yeah. So a lot of people, I thought so. So you remember how much less noisy it was in like 2009, right? Now, isn't it getting noisier? And I love Twitter. But it's, cutting through the noise is hard. There's not a day I don't wake up to a startup company or whatever it may be spamming me, or an enterprise company saying, download this link, try this app. So you'll see me about 10 o'clock every morning. I'm almost like, shut up, everybody. Like, quit. Ted's laughing because I know you get the same thing. And that's why I wake up to an inbox every day of like 10 people who fill out my contact forms asking me to do something for them for free, that I've never met them. They've never even said hi to me. And maybe I would think their product was cool if they took the time to get to know me and maybe hung out where I hang out, right? So like I said, if the channels are not working together, it's not omnichannel. So if there's one thing you remember from today, this is it. This is the thing that differentiates omnichannel marketing. Time for a change. So here is an amazing quote from Brian Solis, and I'm a big fan of Brian Solis. The traditional funnel no longer works on connected customers. It's far too dynamic, and the evolution is spinning the ellipse faster than your business is adapting its vision, mission, and models to react. So we have to look at the funnel. Our conversion funnels are not like they used to be. We cannot control them, right? And it could be that your audience wants to communicate with you via live streaming. There are some brands that may work for them, right? They want to. They may want to communicate with you on LinkedIn, communicate with you only through your blog, but it's up to you to understand that. And make sure that we are not searching for the answers in all the wrong places. Right? So if you're trying to figure out where is your customer and what is your customer doing, what do they want from you, you don't need to go hang out all day on a Periscope listening to somebody telling you why you should be using Periscope. Does that make sense? You don't need to be on Twitter all day learning why you should be on Twitter. You need to know who your customer is. Take that same time and go learn about go ask your customer, go do research. There are so many tools out there that we can understand where our audience is. There are tools that you can utilize even on Twitter to assess your entire following. You can find out how old they are, what their education is, what other social networks they are on. What their interests are. So if you have invested in building community on these platforms, that's one of the first thing you should do is go figure out who they are, right? Go ask them, go engage with them, get them to subscribe to an email newsletter or your email list. We implemented a couple different tools early 2014, and leadpages.net was one of them. And we grew our email list since then from, it was a little over 12,000 to over 50,000 now. And so that was in a year and a half. And we didn't do that much extra work, but it was one little change of integrating and getting more agile with landing pages. Okay, and knowing the content that our customers wanted and giving them worksheets and giving them templates and giving them tools that help them solve their business problems. 76% of marketers think they know what their customers want, but only 34% have ever asked them. Is that crazy? To me, that's just a crazy stat, right? How many times do you even, I do it too. And we go through phases. I know what they want. Well, then you go, it's like, let's go look at the data and see what the data is telling me. And there's a lot of times I will have gut feeling. And my partner, I talked about, he'll be like, we really need to change that page on our website, or we really need to take that down. It's like, let's go look at the data and see what's happening. You know, we've had some customers, even some enterprise customers. I had a large client that had authors for their blog, and we finally got them to where they started out on this digital journey, and then they didn't have anybody internally that wanted to blog. But once we turned it into an employee empowerment implementation and building personal brands, they now have more bloggers internally than they can have space for. And so the director was very concerned about even her picture being on there as an author. She's like, I think we just need to take them all down. Well, we went and looked at the data, and the authors were the most viewed pages. They were the most time on site, and it was helping them kill it with Google. Like, the Google organic was going crazy. Had we taken down those pages, we would have completely hurt their SEO, rankings and what was happening with Google. They would have been like, why did you take down the best pages? And so we left the pages up there. So that's why sometimes I'm a big gut feeling person, but I'm also a big data person. And when the data tells me something different than my gut, I listen to the data. All right, so how long do I have, Larry? Tell me. When does this actually end? Thank you. All right. Well, he was like giving me the 5-minute thing. All right, so it's about the people. Most business leaders are good at the ideas and tactical execution, but lack the marketing element of connecting with humans, right? So we need to understand who that person is at the other end of the avatar, and we need to put and think about both heart and mind. We need to think about DNA. So what's going to help us connect with them intimately? What's going to help us serve them? What's going to help us inspire, educate, entertain, and delight? Because it's all of those things. It's both the brain and the heart. We need to educate and help them, while we also need to connect to their heart. And I think one of the biggest mistakes marketers make is not understanding where their customer or even their team, their executives is in understanding technology and adopting technology. And if any of you have been to probably any business education courses, marketing, you have seen this model. This is the Jeffrey Moore technology adoption life cycle, and I've done a podcast on it. But the point I want to make here is if you have executives in your organization or you have clients and you need to know where they are in adopting technology, in adopting social, in adopting digital, if they are on the far right side of this, if they are a skeptic, okay, the last thing you want to be doing is going to them and saying, guess what, Mr. CEO, we can go be the first company to implement this product. We can be leaders in that space. When you say that to them, they're freaking out, because a skeptic doesn't want to be a leader in change. They want to see that other people have adopted it. Okay. Now, if you have a leader in your organization that is a tech enthusiast, that is a visionary, they want to be the leaders. Okay. That's when you go to them. When you go to the skeptic and the conservative, you better go with a case study. You better go with a risk management plan. You better go with a brand protection plan. You better know what that crisis escalation is going to look like. And you better find the other executives in the room that are going to help you wing it when you need to wing it, right? And this is the number one reason I see marketing teams getting laid off, social programs and budgets getting cut, because they don't know how to sell and manage internally. And sell in 6-month cycles if you have to. There are very few CEOs right now that are approving social budgets, digital budgets for 18 to 24 months out, right? You're lucky to get 3 months. A lot of work we do with clients when we first get in there, we sell it at a 3-month. They have a 30-day opt-out if they don't like us, right? And we prove value 30, 60, 90, 120 days. And you know what happens usually by the time we get to the 90 and 120 days? The CEO is saying, go faster. Like, we have the fire under us. And then you get the budget. You end up with the opposite problem, right? So don't try to boil the ocean and go into the CEO and say, we can do it all and the ROI is going to be out the roof. You don't know that yet, right? If you're at the beginning of your digital journey, you do not know what it's going to look. You don't know what you don't know 30 days from now. So just be honest. So start with the people, and it's about people first. And if I'm any room I ever speak or train to, I'll say, I'll ask you guys, what's the first thing that comes to mind when I say social media? What's the first thing? Louder. People. Good. See, smart room. A lot of people will say Facebook or they'll say Twitter, right? If you're in a room usually with people that aren't so social savvy, so we utilize what we call the POST methodology. So it's from Forrester Research, and it's people, objective, strategy, and tactics. So we have a worksheet you can download, but basically you want to understand who your audience is, understand what their objectives are, what objectives they have, what objectives you have for that audience, and it's at a persona level. You know, how old are they? Where are they working? What are they doing? What are they doing for fun? And then strategy is more about what you want the relationship to be with that audience member. So do you want that relationship to become more intimate? Do you want that relationship to become more transactional? Maybe it is intimate, but they're not buying anything from you. And so its strategy is based on that. And then last, you select the technology and the tools and the tactics for those goals that you want to achieve, okay? So that's why I mentioned the landing page earlier. I have a lot of people that subscribe to our content and do that, but I want to get them to where I can nurture them more through email. And email is, anybody who says email is dead, I'd love to go debate with you, because I'll tell you, email, when done right, it is our #1 lead generation, right? And so if you are not implementing email into your marketing, you absolutely should be. Okay, communities create markets. And so when you are creating and building your communities, just remember that it's going to take you time, right? You are not going to build your community day one and be able to sell to that audience. You are going to have to nurture relationships. You're going to have to establish and earn trust. And that's where the multi-channel, omni-channel thing comes in, because you need to understand the technologies that are going to help you achieve those objectives, help you take that relationship to the next level where you're wanting to take that relationship. So if it's live streaming that's going to do that, awesome. If it's hopping on a blab and getting face-to-face and being able to look people in the eye and connect with them, great. If it's Twitter, great. If it's email marketing, great. But utilize those technologies to take you where you need to go, and understand only a small percentage of them are going to become evangelists or customers, right? And that's the hardest thing for CEOs, I think, to understand, the C-suite. They want it now, right? They want the show me the money, honey. So everything is about a personalized experience. You know, who is your customer? What is important to them? What are their behaviors? Whether you are going to connect with your customer on a Friday night on Facebook or a Monday morning is a huge difference, right? If you're connecting to how many of you in here are moms? Okay, what are we talking about Sunday night? Laundry? Like the silly memes are probably a good thing. But Monday morning, what are we talking about? We're talking about business. We're talking about maybe motivation. We need inspired. You know, same thing with C-level executives. You're not going to want to reach out to a C-level executive on a Monday morning with some silly, article or tweet or something. They're thinking business. Give them things that are going to help them achieve their goals and objectives in a serious world. By the time you get later into the week, that may change. But designing the customer and journey is about achieving your goals, and it's about helping the customer achieve their goals, increasing your conversions, providing that better customer experience that's going to help you enhance those relationships. And no matter what kind of business you are in, it is about establishing and becoming an experience architect, where even if you don't know right now or understand about customer experience, somebody in your organization better figure it out. Because when you start to go to multiple screens and you are sharing content and you are communicating from a mobile device to an in-store to a website, wherever it may be, to a mobile app, you better make sure that that customer experience is positive. And a couple case studies that you can look at, I won't have time to go in detail on these, but Disney is a great one. right? Who's been to Disney in Florida, right? But they're amazing, right? What better place on the planet is there for experience? And the mobile app and the beacons that they have, they know where you are. They can help you get to, the locations that you need. Another one I would say to look up is Homebase. They're doing some amazing things. They're a home building company out of the UK. And the thing I love that they did, so they help people, they'll actually have services that will come in and help you remodel your bathroom. They took it all the way. Not only do they have mobile apps, not only are they inspiring on Pinterest, not only, they've decided they're also an inspiration company. They take it to your home as a channel. They know that your home, when you have a remodel on your bathroom, and if you have only one bathroom, because a lot of the houses in Europe are smaller, that's a problem, right? So if you only have one bathroom and you're remodeling it, they have now given out free memberships to the gym for their customers so that they can go shower and go work out to relieve some stress. But is that awesome? I think that's just such a great, that's taking it not only the properties they own, but thinking about the entire experience for that customer when they are utilizing their services. And then it's about just creating experiences that are absolutely shareable. And so I'm going to leave you with a video from Gary Vee. And this is a video that I hope will inspire all of you to think about agility, okay? And you're sitting here now and you're thinking, she's talking about all this omnichannel stuff and I don't know what she means by it. Gary Vee in this video talks about the power of Twitter video that takes you 15 seconds, okay? Like 20 seconds you can do a Twitter video and connect with your audience. He actually shot me a 15-second video, okay, just saying, thanks for the shout out. But it's a multi-channel story because I was listening to his podcast, okay? Who here likes Gary Vee at least a little bit, yeah? And I do have to say that my language has gotten a lot more poor since I started listening to him. It's kind of a scary thing, but I try to control that. But I was listening to his podcast. I listened to it at least a couple times a week. I tweeted out something, and then one day he hopped on Twitter in the cab. He's on his way to wherever he is, and shot out like 3 videos to people who had mentioned him, okay? All of us can do that. I love the fact that he's in the back of a cab. I love the fact that he didn't record the video 10 times to make it perfect. He does the video, he lets it go. Is the power of consistency, of agility, of being different, of communicating and connecting with human beings. We don't have to wait for a web developer to fix our problems. Do you guys agree? I mean, we need to quit making up the excuses because they don't work anymore. Because our consumers are sick and tired of hearing the excuses. So I think we're going to move on, and we want to move to questions now, right?
My name is Max, and you mentioned that email marketing was super important, and now it's not considered that way. I would like to know which specifics should I take care when I have to do an email marketing campaign. Like, what would you say it would be like the most important things that I should?
So if you're implementing email marketing, yeah, and I will tell you, I also have resources. I have a podcast that I'll point you to. I'll give you you can just go to socialzoomfactor.com. And that's my podcast. I have a couple podcasts I did specifically on email marketing that tells you exactly how we did it. And that's one thing I do is tell exactly how we use things. But if you're starting out, so how many of you would like to do email marketing but haven't started, okay? You'll want to the first thing you need to do is pick a platform. And there's some out there that are pretty cost effective, like Aweber or MailChimp. I used Aweber when we were first starting. When you're ready to move up, like I'm a big supporter of Infusionsoft. I don't get paid to say that, but we use Infusionsoft. I like the tagging that it enables me to do. So anytime somebody clicks on a link, or I can easily tag them, they don't have to be on a specific list. And then I can have multiple tags and say, they joined on this date, they did this, they did this. But pick a platform and then figure out the content that you want to be able to communicate, right? How can you help them? What is information that you can provide to them that you're not providing everywhere else? And we do, when we're not too busy, we try to do one like once a week. We'll do an email And every time we send an email, the leads come in. I mean, I can send it on a Friday, I can send it on a Saturday, and it's like boom shakalaka. It just happens. And so there's something about that email that you're reaching the audience, because we think we're reaching everybody on Twitter, right, or Facebook. My audience is not on Twitter all day. I'm targeting C-level executives to directors and executive directors, right? That's not where they're hanging out. So you have to know who is the audience that is subscribing to your email. And then, gather as much information as you can as you go. As simple as you can make that first landing page, we only require a name and an email address. That's it. One, not even first and last. And we've done some A/B testing, and when we add even one more field, it goes down. Our conversions on our landing page now are like 60 to 83% for every single. And that's thanks to lead pages and how agile their platform is. You can literally take an image, a stock image, and put it up there as a background and have a what you see is what you get type of landing page. But I mean, you could have something like that up within, I would say a couple weeks easily if you only put a little bit of time, say 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours each week. You could probably have that up in a couple weeks if you had a plan for what you were going to do. Question? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we communicate. I switched to podcasting last year. So we, last summer, literally fired like half of our clients. I left corporate for a reason, and I was starting to be owned by corporate again. And so we literally said we are only working with clients that we can bring mutual joy and mutual value, and that we don't have to be owned by. When we did that, I launched our podcast a little over a year ago. And we started turning up the dial a little bit on the email marketing with that. And we see a spike every week on the downloads, right? Our podcast now has like 100,000 downloads a month. But every time I send one email, but I have quite a few links in there that I put for the podcast, and we started testing that to see if it was too many. The downloads of the podcast goes out the roof. And it stays up there for like 3 days. Like 3 to 4 days, the spike is just crazy. So we know for a fact what they're clicking on. We know which articles they like. We tie that back to Google. I know then what else they're clicking on. I know what other white papers they're downloading. And so we start to really, really learn about our audience, and that's enabled me to then tweak everything we do, right? The data that I'm getting from the email marketing behavior enables me to tweak every single episode on my podcast and on our blog content, because when everybody's clicking on 101 content, I mean, that's what I have found crazy. And we can go talk about all this thought leadership stuff and that. At the end of the day, people just want to know, how do I get an email program off the ground? Okay, and it goes from a solo entrepreneur up to a large, IBM HPs of the world that we work with. So they need to oftentimes just know the foundations of what they need to do. And how do they tweet on Twitter? How do they get their CEO to do that? So I think it's, the data that you can get just from the behavior of the clicks and the content that you're providing on email, once you have an engaged email subscriber base, I don't know anything else we can go do other than, engage really tactical and integrated web metrics if you had that, like an omnichannel, and some of those things that you would integrate really tightly and kind of follow people around in what you're doing. Did that answer your question? Good.
Anybody else?
Hi, thanks for coming.
Sure, thank you.
I'm just interested in learning how have you started to incorporate live streaming into your omni-channel marketing?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because I totally believe in live streaming. I think there is a place for it. We haven't done it much other than honestly just broadcasting and at events. Like I got on live streaming at an Adobe event early in the year, right when Meerkat first launched. I think it was even before South by Southwest. And what I was amazed at was I was just I was a front row at like a startup event that they had where it was like a Shark Tank thing. What I was amazed at, my first day on there, first time I downloaded the app, like 300 people watching it, and it was like 100% engagement. I didn't lose anybody in like an hour, okay? So I obviously think there's a place for it. However, right now, we are just so busy. Like right now, we have objectives that we're building out a training center, or, you know, a new office space, and tons of clients. So I just don't have time to sit and talk on Periscope all day. I just don't have time. So we're going to find a place to use it, probably when we're getting ready to launch some more training programs. We'll do it then. But right now, I know for a fact, my audience doesn't even know what Periscope is. The C-level executives that are downloading my email and that are listening to my podcast do not have Periscope on their phone. And maybe a small percentage of them do, and there are some people that will probably push back and say, well, they are, but for me right now, my priorities are not there. Is there opportunity for our clients? Absolutely, right? We work with some franchise clients and different clients where we're working on some strategies for them. I think there's a place for it. But I think it's prioritizing, and that's the fear of what I see right now with a lot of the new tools is there's so much like, you gotta get on the bus or you're gonna get run over. And I think there's a lot of hype. I think it's here to stay. Video is obviously killer. There's nothing like face-to-face, but just make sure you're prioritizing it, right? Make sure you have the email set up first so you have a call to action. Make sure your website is mobile responsive. When I'm working with big brands and they don't have a mobile responsive site, they don't have email marketing working, they are still setting up their Facebook pages, and they're doing the basics, it's not going to make sense that they go put all their eggs in the live streaming bucket right now. I'd love any other thoughts on that. I'd love even differing opinions on that for what you guys are experiencing or what anyone else thinks. Ted, what do you think? I'm going to call you out. What do you think?
When I was talking, I talked about how ADD I am.
Yeah.
You can't get too diffused in your attention. You have to focus. And I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
I was nodding my head the whole time.
Yeah, I thought so. And that's the thing for me when I watch some of the Periscopes. I think it's great, and I'm not trying to beat down any people that love it and are excited about it. Stay excited about it. But for me, it drives me nuts, like, because people are talking to comments, and then they get so sidetracked. Like 5 tips to do this, but you never get to the 5 tips. You're like, hello, George, and hello, whatever. And it's fun, that's community, but for me, I have other priorities. So I'd rather go hang out with my kids. I'd rather get my work done during the day and go hit the soccer field with my kids. Okay. Question in the back? You have to come on stage. No. You're the dancer, right? You were the invited dancer. He's like, now I'm running away.
Oh, just a question. What do you suggest your clients that want to get into or grow their U.S. Hispanic market?
So
What do you suggest?
if they're out of the U.S.?
No, U.S. Hispanics.
Oh, U.S. Hispanics. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say, is it a B2C type of, or you're saying anything, B2C, B2B? Yeah. So I would say what you need to do is understand the market, and we've actually helped a couple brands with this, but understand, make sure you know your target demographic, right? And make sure you know who are the key players in that industry. Because if you don't have experience with them, if you're not a key trusted player in that industry yet and with that demographic, figure out who are some influencers that are. So like if it's a cosmetic brand, that's an easy example. Figure out who are the influencers who are blogging about cosmetics, right? Who are doing Twitter chats and that type of thing, talking, who are driving conversations, doing live streaming. There's people that are doing live streaming for that market, right? The YouTubers that are jumping over. And figure out how you can get your products in front of them. And I've seen some brands do that successfully where it's all about tapping into the power of the OPC, other people's content and other people's community. and see how you can connect with some leaders. I would say that would be the quickest way, combined with research and then partnering up with some people that are successful. And then obviously a media play, paid media and organic media. Earned. Okay.
We got one more.
All right.
Hi.
Hi.
If I would have a company of clouding website and apps, how would you recommend me to do a research before presenting a proposal to a client? Because sometimes they don't want to pay. Like I'm from South America, and sometimes they don't want to pay like to build a great website or a great app. You know, we always tell them that an application is a great way to get your customer, your client, to get them to know more about them, because you're more direct in communication. Would you recommend me to invest in a research maybe to show them the numbers and the data about what's happening to their clients out there?
I would, and I would, the more that you can show data for their demographic, the better, right? And every lead that we get that we qualify and we actually get on the phone with, we know as much about them even before that first call that we possibly can. We through social nowadays, a lead, by the time you get on a phone call with a lead, you should know who they are, where they've worked their whole career if it's on LinkedIn, if they have kids, what they're doing on the weekends. It's all out there, right? The days of having to sell and go, and my partner and co-founder, he spent years in corporate sales and business development, and he tells stories. I used to walk into the office and have to look around the room and see, do they have kids? Is there a golf club thing sitting there? Nowadays, it's all online. And even if they're not that social, a lot of times their friends are. So if you're doing the right research, even their friends are sharing content about them. But then making sure that you're presenting that data and maybe giving them, an easier onboarding and opt out if that doesn't work. Because that's what we have found. Locking people into a contract that doesn't work isn't good for anybody. If you don't like what we're doing in 90 days, we should both be able to walk away.
Okay, thank you.
So that's my thought. Does that help? Okay. All right. Larry's saying no more. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
I hope you
man.
have a great rest to your show.
Thanks.